There's all this controversy from people like Jada Pinkett Smith, Spike Lee, and Snoop Dogg talking about how there's a lack of diversity at the Oscars and how the Oscars are so white. However, when we look at the NAACP Image Awards and we see a lack of diversity over there. Now, in the summer of 2015, there was a movie called Dope. And the movie Dope was one of the most critically acclaimed black movies of the year. And Dope pretty much had gotten critical praise not only from black critics, but from white critics in the Sundance Film Festival as well. It's considered a top pick at the Sundance Film Festival. However, when we go over to the NAACP Image Awards, we see that Dope only has one nomination for Best Picture. But there is no controversy about this critically acclaimed film being snubbed in all of the acting categories. It's just really disturbing to see a positive black film which promotes a positive black image of African Americans and is produced by African American producers and an African American director and written by an African American director be snubbed in almost every category except for one. It only gets one nomination. Meanwhile, films like You're Straight Out of Compton and other films pretty much, and films like Shrek pretty much, dominate the categories at the NAACP Image Awards. And the crazy part is that the NAACP Image Award is supposed to be an award which is supposed to be rewarded to films and media that promote positive images of African Americans. And everyone says that Dope promoted one of the most positive images of African Americans out here and is one of the best films about African Americans, yet this film gets only one nomination from your NAACP, an organization which says it's about the advancement of colored people. Meanwhile, when we look at the other nominees in shows like Scandal, Blackish, and Empire, which promote negative images of African Americans, we can see literally multiple nominations for these TV shows and films. Even films like Straight Outta Compton have multiple nominations and they promote negative images of African Americans. Meanwhile, the film Dope, which promotes the most positive image of African Americans, gets only one nomination. But these same Afro American Negroes who complain about a lack of diversity at the Oscars will then, when you look at their NAACP Image Awards, then say, won't say anything about that lack of diversity. It seems there's only, again, an argument regarding diversity whenever material meets a certain narrative. And that narrative is one that appeases and pleases the white liberals in Hollywood. Because when you look at the NAACP Image Awards and you look at the NAACP Image Award winners, they're usually the most popular people in Hollywood. You never see any indie filmmakers up there. You never see any indie writers like myself up there for nomination. And you never see anybody who does not promote ideas that do not fit the white liberals in Hollywood winning NAACP Image Awards. And again, if this is the award that's supposed to be promoting a positive image of African Americans, you would think that images of African Americans would be dominating all the categories, regardless of wherever they come from. But when you look at the NAACP and the Image Awards, the only people who are winning usually are the most popular. I mean, I remember one year when I wrote an entire blog about how a lot of positive images were being snubbed, and I remember them talking about how House of Pain was considered the best show of the year. And then in my blog, I pointed out other shows which were much better but not popular by mainstream standards that got snubbed. And then I remember seeing Tyler Perry considered, one of the top people winning NAACP Image Awards. But this is what we have here. We have a hypocritical, you know, ideal regarding this NAACP Image Award. They talk about how they want to promote positive images of African Americans, but positive African Americans never win this award. It's usually the most popular people. So that pretty much tells us that the Afro American Negro is pretty much a hypocrite when he talks about a lack of diversity. Because if he really was about, true diversity, the winners of his NAACP Image Award would be people from all walks of life, not just people who are considered mainstream popular or acceptable by a mainstream standard. Because, again, we look at the NAACP Image Award winners and we look at the Oscar nominees or the considered the best in the community, and in most cases, it's usually the most popular and famous people, not the people who actually produce positive images of African Americans. And these Afro American Negroes will sit there and say that there's a lack of diversity, but the irony is, again, they only want diversity when it fits a certain narrative. If it fits the narrative of their white liberal slave masters, then they will consider that diversity. If the story follows the same old stories regarding coons, slaves, black brutes, um, biopics, and famous black people, if it makes black people appear in a way that is acceptable to white people, they'll consider that diversity. If it's something that will get them approval of white people, they'll consider it diversity. If it's something that will allow them to get social currency with white liberals, they will consider that diversity. But if you start talking about real diversity, like people like the producers of a film like Dope, or directors like Ava DuVernay who make films like I Will Follow, or writers like myself who produce, novels like The Temptation of John Haynes and Spinsterella's, and talk about categories like African American fantasy, and talk about African American subcultures like the African American goth subculture, that's not considered diversity by your Afro American Negroes. No, because it does not fit the narrative of these white liberals in Hollywood, or fit the narrative of white liberals in mainstream America. If you don't walk lockstep with that narrative, you're not considered diverse. And when we look at this dope snub, it pretty much, again, smacks of the hypocrisy of, regarding this Afro American Negro. It's pretty much hypocritical of him to say there is no diversity among the Oscars when there's no diversity in the NAACP Image Award. Because the NAACP Image Award, again, which is supposed to promote a positive image of African Americans, and then we have a film that pretty much meets the criteria for a positive image of African Americans getting snubbed in all the categories. What does that say? I mean, what type of message is that? You have a film that's positive, promotes a positive image of African Americans, and meets all the standards for your award, and this film only gets one nomination. Meanwhile, a film which promotes all the stereotypes regarding African Americans, like your Straight Out of Compton, and your films like your Chirac, which promote violence in the black community, these films get multiple nominations, and they only get multiple nominations because the people who produced them are popular. And that, again, is a double standard. You're not promoting, the positive image of African Americans. If people who aren't popular are producing positive images of African Americans, you would think you would use this award to elevate those people so that more people would know about them, know about their work, and share their work within the African American community. That's what a black community which has its own standards would do. They would go out and promote the works of people like myself, or people out here, who are promoting positive images, and use our awards to elevate our people so that they can, get that larger audience and get more people looking at their products and get more people looking at their work and sharing their work with other people. That's what giving an award would do. But we don't do that for ourselves. Instead, we use our so-called NAACP Image Award to elevate, and look for approval from white liberals. We look to elevate our already people who are already famous and get approval from white liberals. That's all that we do with our NAACP Image Award, and that's why I can, agree with David Carroll when he says that it's the NAACP Minstrel Award, because the only people who win this award are minstrels. I mean, I look at the year when I wrote the blog, talking about how Tyler Perry pretty much dominated in this category, even though he had some of the worst TV shows on the air. I mean, for House of Pain to win Best Comedy was embarrassing. I mean, and then you watch as actors from House of Pain win this award. I mean, it just destroys the value of this award. I mean, this was an award that we could have used to elevate some of our best and most talented people, yet those people wound up, not being able to have their talents acknowledged, have their talent recognized, and have people, more people see their work and share their work. And then I look at the literature award that was given to Terry McMillan that year for a book that was not only critically panned by critics, getting the happy, but it was also roasted and ripped by people in the very black community. But this award was given to Terry McMillan, and she was considered the best book of the year. I mean, this shows, how low self-esteem many African Americans have. We will, reward people for being popular, but we won't reward them on the terms of merit. And then we want to go to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and then say, we want diversity. What do you want diversity for? I mean, what it really looks like to me is that you want acknowledgement and recognition from white people and white liberals and approval from white people and white liberals, and they're upset that white liberals are not approving of their films. Well, isn't your award supposed to approve of your best and your brightest? But I look at your NAACP Image Award and it doesn't do that. It does not approve of our best and our brightest people. Then you want to go to other people and ask them to approve of you when you don't even approve of yourself and you don't even support yourself. I mean, I look at the way this dope film got snubbed by your own NAACP, and it pretty much makes a condemning statement regarding how this Afro-American Negro sees himself and herself and how they regard, the works of their best and brightest people, because the man who directed Dope was a man who directed many positive black films like The Wood and like Brown Sugar, yet this man gets no recognition and no praise from his own community. He pretty much gets ignored. The same thing that happened to Ava DuVernay when she made the film I Will Follow. Nobody wanted to talk about her when she was making positive films about black people. But when she makes Selma, which follows the narrative of the white liberal, there's all this outrage regarding acting categories, directing categories, and, being snubbed. But when this woman was out here making positive films like I Will Follow with $50,000 budgets and making efforts to, get her own projects distributed, not a word is heard from anybody in black Hollywood or in this black community regarding outrage. The same thing with Scott Sanders and Black Dynamite. Again, another positive black film pretty much ignored by your Afro-American Negroes and by your NAACP Image Award. These are films that pretty much some of the best black films ever produced, but these films get put on permanent ignore by your Afro-American Negroes every year. But then these same Negroes want to talk about how the Academy has a lack of diversity when there is no true lack of diversity regarding our own films and our own media. Because if you produce any sort of material that does not fit the narrative of the white liberals, which features your usual buck dancing, bojangling minstrels, your black brutes, your thugs, or any other caricatured Negro images, then this is not considered diverse. And the irony of it is that what they consider diversity are usually just the same old stereotypes. And if they really had some real diversity out here regarding the African American image, we would really see some fierce competition in your NAACP Image Awards regarding black talent, and it would be a place where black talent would get showcased and promoted instead of being marginalized and ignored. And it's a shame that this film, Dope, isn't in the discussion for any of this so-called Oscar diversity, because I listened to your Jada Pinkett Smiths, your Spike Lees, and all these other people complaining about this lack of diversity at the Oscars. Yet, one of the most critically acclaimed films of the year pretty much has not been discussed in any of these arguments regarding diversity. Here you have a film which pretty much meets the standards for your NAACP Image Award and would be a film that would reinforce all the arguments for your lack of diversity at the Oscars and a true reason for people to stay home. Yet no one wants to talk about it to your black female Academy president, who had every chance, to help try to push and promote this film in every way, shape, or form. But not a single word was heard from any of these people. Why? Because the film Dope does not meet the narrative of the white liberals or the Negroes in black Hollywood who walk lockstep with the white liberals in Hollywood and the NAACP. And none of these people are really about the advancement of colored people. They're just about getting the acceptance and approval of white liberals in America. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Much better.